As of last night, I think we had 72 people sign up, and we're expecting at least 10 to 15 more. So I want to thank everybody for being a part of this challenge. So it's a spring break detox challenge. We're technically running it through February 23rd through March 15th, but we've already had a couple of people get started. The key is whenever you weigh in, that's when your 21 days starts. Okay. If you haven't registered yet, you can go to www.21daydetox.pgfit.com and register, or otherwise we can collect a payment here, and then it'll actually start the campaign, so you start receiving the emails. So I need to make sure we go over this, because the detox is not intended to treat, prevent disease, or replacement for seeking medical treatment or professional fitness advice. I'm a certified nutritionist and a nutrition consultant, but I'm not a registered dietitian. This program, I actually developed about 75% of the manual, and I worked with a registered dietitian and another nutritionist to develop this program. So there were actually 5 books that we used in order to create the manual. The first one is It Starts with Food. The second one is The Ultra Simple Diet. The third one is Ultra Metabolism. The fourth one is Cracking the Metabolic Code, and the last one is the Fat Flush. These were all written by doctors in nutrition, and so what this detox is it's a food elimination diet. I'm sure many of you have followed a detox program before, whether it was juicing, whether it was just taking a bunch of supplements, or whether it was a quick weight loss program. But the goal of this program is it's an elimination diet to help remove toxins and impurities from your system. And then after the 21 days, you slowly start to reintroduce foods back into your diet. So this is something I'm really passionate about, and it's one of the reasons I got into the fitness industry. But in 2020, 75% of Americans will be obese. But the definition of obese means that somebody is so severely overweight that they have a hard time functioning on a daily basis. Think about this for a second. By the year 2020, three-fourths of our society is going to be so overweight that they're going to have a hard time functioning, just performing a daily task. And so that's one of the things that I'm really passionate about. We've started a challenge where we're challenging Cyprus to lose 1,000 pounds. And I really believe we can do it in the next 3 to 4 months. So I don't know if you've heard this quote by Hippocrates before, but let food be thy medicine, and medicine be thy food. And it really starts there. We could overcome a majority of illnesses and diseases in this country if we just started eating better and watching our nutrition. A majority, about 97% of diseases and illnesses in this country are related to a poor diet. It all starts with nutrition. So a lot of people are focused on calories. And when we have a new client come in, initially we'll ask them to start counting their calories. And that's important. You have to know there's a couple of laws to take into consideration. The first one is the first law of thermodynamics, and the second one is the law of conservation of energy. If you're taking in more energy than you're burning, which in this case is calories, it's inevitable you're going to start gaining weight. If you're taking in fewer calories than you're burning, it's inevitable you're going to start losing weight. But there are 3 different types of weight loss. You can lose water, you can lose muscle, and you can lose fat. The last thing your body wants to lose is adipose tissue or fat. So all calories are not created equally. And I like to use this analogy because would you rather have 10 pounds of bricks falling on top of your head or 10 pounds of feathers? So all calories are not created equally. And what we want to emphasize is we want to help you we want to ensure that you're eating high quality meals, so you're taking in the right amount of, of calories and making sure you're achieving a good macronutrient balance, which we'll talk about in just a second. So I've already had several people ask me this question. There is no such thing as perfection. I'm a perfectionist by nature, and I want to do everything perfectly, or I don't want to do it at all. And if you look for perfection, you'll never be content. So we're going to give you a step-by-step meal plan that you can follow for each meal. But we were born to be real, not to be perfect. Life is going to get in the way. We all go through challenges, so you just want to do the best job you can over the course of that 21 days. I'm sure many of you have events that are coming up, or you have obligations that you have to attend to. So we just want you to do the best job you can over the next 21 days. So why detox? The goal is not weight loss. The goal is to improve health and identify any underlying causes that may be impeding somebody from losing weight. The goal is to remove toxins and impurities and reduce inflammation. Weight loss is just basically a side effect. And so the average person on this program can lose between 5 and 10 pounds over the course of 21 days. Now, is all of that going to be fat mass? No. The answer to that is no. You're going to be losing some water weight. You're going to be losing fecal matter. But if you're able to achieve a macronutrient balance, stabilize your body, stabilize your blood sugar, you're going to be able to start burning fat effectively, and that's the whole point. So there are a number of different sources for toxicity. Think about this. Since the 1950s, we've introduced 75,000 chemicals to our environment. Herbicides, pesticides, fungicides, larvicides, just to name a few. But 75,000 chemicals. And as a result of that, it's one of the reasons that our society is overweight and eventually going to be obese. Toxins can be both external and internal, and I just named a few external toxins. But even bacteria, yeast, and other microorganisms can actually can be toxic. Just lack of sleep, chronic stress, that can cause us to produce more toxins and impurities. Toxicity impairs basically two key metabolic organs. The first one is the liver. Okay, about 75% of fat is metabolized in the liver. So if your liver is not functioning efficiently, guess what? You're never going to be able to burn fat efficiently. And then the second one is the thyroid. And we're going to talk about hormonal fluctuations and how that works in just a second. But the mitochondria is basically the powerhouse of your cell. And when you damage the mitochondria, you're going to develop cellular damage. And that can happen all the way through our brain chemicals, our neurotransmitters, to the different, and cause different hormonal fluctuations. And as a result, this increases inflammation and oxidative stress. So what is inflammation? Well, I really like this because being inflamed makes you fat, and being fat makes you inflamed. If somebody is overweight or obese, it's almost a guarantee that they're going to have some type of inflammatory response, whether it's in the joints or whether it's in the internal organs. Inflammation can start with something just as simple as sugar, or taking in high doses of fats, especially your bad fats. And then, of course, inflammation can lead to heart disease, cancer, diabetes, dementia, just to name a few. But like I said, this is an elimination diet. So what we want to do is we want to start removing some of those foods that could be causing an inflammatory response. And then after the 21 days, you're going to slowly start to reintroduce those foods to see if you do have any food allergies or any type of inflammatory response. So it starts with sugar because sugar is a drug. Sugar, basically, it's considered a vasoconstrictor, which means that it actually constricts your blood vessels. And I was talking to somebody about caffeine, but caffeine and sugar are very similar as far as the physiological response in the brain. But it typically starts with sugar and then just salty and carbon-dense foods. We call it the hedonic value of food. And then I'm going to deviate for just a second because this is something I'm really concerned about. But think about our kids, for example. If they're eating these high sugar, high carbohydrate, high fat foods, it has a neurological effect on the brain. And guess what? It actually rewires the brain. And so if they're developing a high hedonic value of food, if they start developing these cravings for these foods, it's going to rewire their brain. And so that's something that we really need to take into consideration because kids are at a huge risk for not being able to overcome these food addictions. Wheat actually binds to opiate receptors in the brain. It has a very similar response to opiates. And chronic stress and sleep we talked about, but the worst thing you can do to your body is not get enough sleep or not be able to manage stress efficiently. We all get stressed out, but if you don't know how to manage it, that can actually have more of an impact than some of the worst illicit substances you can put into your body. Foods rich in carbohydrates also release serotonin. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter that actually elevates your moods. It's one of your mood stabilizers. So whenever you get stressed out, what's the first thing you want to do? You want to eat high carbohydrate foods. Why? Because it has an effect on serotonin. It makes you feel better. After you eat those high carbohydrate foods, your serotonin levels go up, and as a result, you feel better. So glycogen is basically a fancy word for blood sugar, and it's what your body's first primary source of fuel. Your blood sugar should be somewhere between 80 and 120 milligrams per deciliter. When your blood sugar spikes, what happens? You start to store fat, and when your blood sugar drops, you start to burn muscle. And so the goal is to make sure you keep your blood sugar stable, because if you don't, what's going to happen is you're going to be storing body fat and burning muscle all day long. So if you don't eat breakfast, if you skip a meal, your blood sugar is going to drop. And then what happens? We typically, our energy crashes, and then our cravings increase. And so as a result, we eat a high carbohydrate meal, and then our blood sugar spikes, and we start storing fat. So when your blood sugar is stable, fat is actually released into the bloodstream, and it's absorbed by the muscle, and it can be utilized as energy. A majority of fat is actually burned in the muscle tissue itself. So if you're not stabilizing your blood sugar, you're not able to get it into your bloodstream. If you're not activating your muscle tissue, you're never going to be able to burn fat effectively. So let's talk about the hormonal responses. Okay, it starts by managing your blood sugar. Hormonal imbalances start when you consume too many carbohydrates. If you consume too many carbohydrates, your blood sugar is going to spike. Okay, as a result, your insulin levels spike, and then there's this series of hormonal fluctuations that take place as a result. So when your blood sugar spikes, insulin levels go up. What happens to cortisol? Cortisol levels go up. Cortisol is your stress hormone. If you get stressed out, your cortisol levels are going to go up. As a result, insulin levels are going to go up. Thyroid goes down. That's why a lot of people are getting diagnosed with hyperthyroidism, and it really starts with their diet. If they could stabilize their blood sugar, chances are they would be able to stabilize their thyroid. Now look at what happens to some of the sex hormones. Estrogen levels go through the roof. Testosterone levels go down, and then progesterone goes down. And so it's not just these hormones, but then there's a series of neurotransmitters that are affected as well. But this is really important to understand because a lot of people are getting misdiagnosed with hyperthyroidism or with high estrogen levels or low progesterone, and it's really because they're not stabilizing their blood sugar. So what are your macronutrients? Macro means large, nutrient means it's vital or essential to life, and there's 3 of them: carbohydrates, protein, and fat. So, and ideally, your macronutrient balance should look something similar to this. About 1/3 of it is going to come roughly from fat, about 1/3 of it is going to come from protein, and about 1/3 of it is going to come from carbohydrates. But everybody's different. Some people, for example, endurance athletes. We have a couple of endurance athletes that are going to do the challenge. If they cut their carbohydrate intake down to 1/3, they're not going to be able to perform at the level they need to. So endurance athletes have to take upwards of 75% carbohydrates. For most people, this range is going to be somewhere between 40 and 75%. For protein, it's going to be somewhere between 20, upwards of 35%. And then for fat, it's going to be anywhere from 15, maybe upwards of 35%. There's a lot of studies that have come out recently showing that women have more effective weight loss if their fat intake is upwards of 35%. And guess what? That's one of the things we're doing with this detox. We're increasing your fat intake, cutting your carbohydrates, especially cutting out all of your simple carbohydrates, and making sure you're taking in quality lean proteins. And as a result, when you achieve that macronutrient balance, the weight's just going to start falling off. Okay. The next one is meal timing. So ideally, in order to stabilize your blood sugar, you should be taking in at least 5 to 6 small meals a day. Now, how many of you are actually realistically doing that? I know there's probably a few of you because you work out and you've learned to do that. But with this particular program, we want you just to consume 3 meals. Now, if you are working out, you're going to need to consume a couple of snacks. So you would need to consume at least 5 meals. But the objective is to make sure that you're leaving at least a 4 to 5 hour gap. And why? Because what happens is we want to make sure we're stabilizing your leptin levels. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. So if you are working out, you want to make sure that you have a pre-workout snack. Now, if you're working out first thing in the morning on this detox program, you can get away without having your first meal. You would have your first meal right afterwards. But post-recovery, it's so important that you have a meal within 30 minutes because you have what's called a metabolic window. Okay, it's like a door, and right after the workout, that door starts to shut. So you need to make sure that you're taking in an adequate amount of carbohydrates, protein, and fat in order to replenish your body with the right nutrients. So lifestyle modifications. If you're exercising, we're going to advise that you continue to exercise. I don't know if many of you have kept a food journal in the past, but most of the time when I've kept a food journal, I'm just writing down what I actually consumed and then breaking down the macronutrients. What we want you to do is write down how you're actually feeling. What kind of a physiological effect is this program having? There are a couple things you can do while you're detoxing because the first week is going to be really tough. You can make sure to take a detox bath. And we recommend you do that at least 2 to 3 times a week. And you want to try to eliminate as many environmental toxins as possible. Little side note, fabric softener. There's just a few things you can do just to start cutting out some of the chemicals. Fabric softener alone has roughly 20,000 chemicals in it. You can go to H-E-B or the grocery store and get the 7th generation. That's one little thing you can do just to start eliminating some toxins and impurities. But I remember when I was in Boy Scouts, we used to take fabric softener and we would rub it on our skin, and it would repel the mosquitoes. Well, and so I can only imagine how many chemicals I was actually putting into my body then. But so there's several things you can do, but you want to look at your personal care products, look at fabric softener, and there's a number of things that you can look at. So getting started, first thing you need to do is clean out your pantry and your refrigerator. Plan at least 1 week of meals in advance. The whole key to this program, it's all about preparation. If you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. So you need to make sure that you're preparing at least 1 week of meals in advance. My recommendation is Sunday night, make sure you prepare all of your meals for the entire week. Make sure you're going grocery shopping. Ideally, we should be going grocery shopping 2 to 3 times a week if we need to, especially to make sure we're buying fresh fruits and vegetables. Establish go-to meals. So if you're on the road or you have a business trip or something come up, make sure you have a couple of meals that you can take with you in case you can't warm up your food. So put together a game plan. And we're going to go over a template that you can follow, but what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to sit down and realistically determine if you're going to be able to eat those foods, if you're going to be able to prepare the meals, and if not, you want to just keep it really simple. And we'll talk about exactly what you can do. Enlist your support group. You are 4 times more likely to be successful with the detox and to be successful losing weight if you're part of an accountability group. We want everybody to go to Facebook and make sure if you have any questions or if you need any support, please go to the page and like it. But most of you in here are either doing it with your spouse or your significant other. Try to find somebody else to do the detox with you, because that's going to make you 4 times more successful. Establish baselines. So we've taken your starting statistics. That's the first step, and after you've weighed in, we want you to break up with your scale for the next 21 days. Please do not get on the scale, because that will sabotage your success. So what to expect? Day 1 through 7, you're probably going to start feeling worse before you start feeling better. Okay, that's just the way it works. By day 3 and 4, you'll probably start getting headaches. You may have flu-like symptoms, or fatigue, or even constipation. That's normal. That's part of the process. What that means is your body's starting to eliminate a lot of those toxins and impurities. By day 8 through 14, you should start feeling better. You should start noticing that you're sleeping better at night and you have more energy. By day 15 through 21, you should be able to sleep very well at night. You should be able to get into that deep REM sleep, that rapid eye movement, and you should have mental focus and, of course, higher energy levels. So here's what to avoid. Grains, sugar, alcohol, caffeine, legumes, dairy, food additives, and protein powders. I don't know how many of you are used to reading food labels. I don't even look at a nutrition label or a food label anymore. The first thing I do is I look at the ingredients. And if there's a bunch of ingredients that you don't know how to pronounce or that contain any of these substances, you want to stay away from them. Okay? We're not going to go into this in depth, because I noticed that there's a couple of vegetarians or vegans or endurance athletes that are going to be doing the detox. It's a food elimination diet. Okay? If you can't eliminate sugar, well, we want you to try to cut out a lot of your processed and refined sugars. But if you've got an endurance run or something coming up, you're going to have to use GU, or you're going to have to use some type of a simple carbohydrate. If you're a vegetarian, you're obviously not going to be eating high quality proteins, so you're going to have to supplement with legumes or even some of your grains. So what to eat? It's really simple. And if you take anything away from this, this is the one thing I want you to think about. Your protein, which for a woman is going to be about 3 to 5 ounces, and for a male, about 6 to 8 ounces. Quality lean protein, and your fruit and your vegetable. It's that simple. Okay, that's the whole point of this program. So you're eating 6 to 8 servings of vegetables each day, 2 to 3 servings of fruit. Remember, fat is your friend. If you're eating a good quality protein, you're going to be taking in some fat. And chances are you're going to be taking in anywhere between 35 upwards of 50% fat, and that's okay. Fat is your friend. Fat helps with satiety. It helps you feel full, and that's the only way you're going to be able to get through the next 4 to 5 hours before you have your next meal. Quality proteins. We break that down exactly what quality proteins that you should be consuming. Beverages. Ideally, you should just be drinking water. Some people, they can't just drink water. They need to add some flavor. So take a lemon and just squeeze the lemon into your water. And if you have some type of a caffeine addiction, you can drink green tea. As far as seasonings, we want you to try to keep it as simple as possible. So there's just a few seasonings that we recommend just to add flavor to your food. So here's an example of a sample meal plan. Okay, and all 3 meals are laid out Monday through Sunday. So all of you should have received this in your manual, and we also gave you a template. So what we want you to do is we want you to print that out and write down what you're going to have. Remember, it's really simple. We're giving you recipes to follow, but think about your lean protein and your fruit and your vegetable. It's that simple. So here's the key. What are the first 3 letters in the word diet spelled? Okay, this is a diet. Okay, it's a food elimination diet. Most people that start diets, with this, it is going to slow down your metabolism because you're consuming 3 meals. And the whole point is to start stabilizing your hormones. Once you finish the 21 days, it is really important that you slowly start to reintroduce foods back into your diet. Because when the diet ends, most people will just go back to eating normal, eating what they would typically consume. If you do that, you're going to get really sick. So you want to make sure you slowly start to reintroduce foods back into your diet. Because if you start eating normal again, what's going to happen? You're going to gain the weight right back, and chances are you're going to be heavier than when you first got started. So now what? Make sure you fill out the symptom spreadsheet, and then you're going to slowly start to reintroduce foods. So this is what we recommend. Day 1, you're going to reintroduce dairy products back into your diet. You should be consuming about 2 to 3 servings of each one of these foods each day. Day 4, you're going to add gluten containing grains. Day 7, non-gluten containing grains. Day 10 is going to be legumes. And then as far as caffeine and alcohol, moderation. Moderation is the key. With alcohol, 1 to 3 drinks per week. That's not 1 to 3 bottles of wine. That's 1 to 3 drinks per week. So here's the problem. When you're dieting, you're cutting calories out of your diet. So you're also going to be cutting micronutrients out of your diet, your vitamins and minerals. So it's important that you're supplementing. The U.S. Department of Agriculture released a statement. They said that less than 1% of the population gets all of the micronutrients they need on a daily basis. So what that means is we all need to supplement. It starts with making sure you're taking a good multivitamin, making sure you're taking in an omega complex, making sure you're taking in enough calcium, magnesium, and zinc. And then as far as this program is concerned, there are a few supplements that we recommend. They're not required, but we do highly recommend them. We've partnered with Charles, the owner of Smart Drinks, just to provide the supplements. We've talked about the multivitamin and the flaxseed oil. The 3 that we're recommending for this program are going to be psyllium husk. You're going to be constipated the first few days. You need to make sure you're taking in at least 25 to 35 grams of fiber. The only way you can do that is by supplementing, unless you're eating at least 14 to 18 servings of fruits and vegetables every day. The probiotic, the acidophilus, is actually going to help with digestion. It's going to help ensure you have at least 1 to 2 bowel movements each day. The 5-HTP, there's a lot of the problem with supplementation in general is it's not regulated by the FDA, so you never know what you're getting. In the medical community, there's a lot of mixed opinions in the medical community about supplements, and the reason for that is they're not highly researched. And 5-HTP is one of those. 5-HTP is something your body naturally produces. It's the precursor for serotonin. Guess what? You're cutting carbohydrates out of your diet, especially the refined and processed foods that spike your serotonin levels. So what do you think is going to happen? Your serotonin levels are going to drop. So we recommend that you take anywhere between 50 upwards of maybe 200 milligrams of 5-HTP. Start with 50 to 100 and then slowly progress from there. The probiotic, let me go back for a second. With the psyllium husk, that's something you would do first thing in the morning. So first thing in the morning, you would just take a scoop of the psyllium husk, mix it in your water. We're going to recommend that you have lemon water first thing in the morning. So you're going to drink that first and then eat your first meal. With the probiotic, you would just take that with your first meal. The 5-HTP, you can take first thing in the morning. The other supplements that we recommend are going to be L-glutamine and branched-chain amino acids. And the reason we recommend the L-glutamine is it also helps with cravings, especially sugar cravings. And your branched-chain amino acids, you can actually use in between meals. So something bodybuilders do all the time. I used to do it for years, but I used to train 8 to 10 hours straight, and I wouldn't be able to sit down and have a lot of high-quality meals. So just by taking in a liquid form of your branched-chain amino acids or even a pill, you can actually ensure that you're preserving your lean muscle mass. And then a couple of one supplement that we do recommend, or one shake. It is a soy-based protein shake, but the problem in general is if you're using some type of a substitute, you're not going to be able to remove the dairy or the soy. So this is the reason we're recommending a Nature Plus Source of Life energy shake is because it contains a lot of your phytonutrients and a lot of your micronutrients. And it's one of the few supplements out in the market that has gone through the stringent FDA guidelines. So now I want to go ahead and just open it up to any questions you have. Like I said, we want everybody to register or please go to www.facebook.com/PGFit 21-day detox and please like the page. If you do have any questions, we want this to be a resource for you, and we'll try to answer those questions as quickly as possible. So there was a question about daikon. So daikon is an Asian vegetable. It's something you probably aren't going to be. Probably not going to be able to find it at HEB or Kroger, but you should be able to find it at. Help me out here for a second. Sprouts or Whole Foods. What other questions do you have? Hopefully we answered the vegetarian options. I'm sorry? Butter. The ghee, yeah. So a lot of these, and we do recommend you either go to HEB. HEB does have a pretty good selection, but Sprouts and Whole Foods are probably going to have a majority of the items that you're looking for. So what's the difference between psyllium husk and ground flaxseed? So if you are using a flaxseed, make sure it is a ground substitute. They're both insoluble fibers, so you could use either one. We're recommending psyllium husk because we're also recommending that you take in flaxseed oil. Flaxseed oil actually has the better breakdown for your EPA and your DHAs, your good fats. Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
Well, to go with that, the reason I asked that question is one of the recipes calls for the other. So you could use either.
Well, for the recipe, you would want to use the ground flaxseed. So for the protein, what you would do is you would make sure not to eliminate your legumes or your grains. Okay, pretty simple. You can use either eggs or egg whites, but remember in this case, we want to make sure you're taking in an adequate amount of fat. So that's why we do, for example, there are several recipes that call for hard-boiled eggs. You do need that yolk because like I said, you're going to be taking in somewhere between 35 and 50% fat per meal, and that's okay. You need your good fat to help remove to act as a lipotropic transporter. It actually helps remove fat. It transports fat in your bloodstream so it can be absorbed by your muscle and used as energy. So you can do a whole lemon, or you can do, I recommend just doing half a lemon. It's a good question. And you can throw the lemon 8 ounces, put it in the microwave for about a minute, and then just take half a lemon and squeeze it in. That is, so you want it from a fresh lemon. Remember, look at the ingredients. The first thing you want to do is look at the ingredients and see if there are any artificial sweeteners or preservatives. So, good question. So there are two shakes that we recommend. One is the RBL. Here's the problem with protein powders in general. Unless they go through what's called a micro-ultra filtered process, you're not getting a very clean form of protein. A lot of them contain toxins and impurities. All of the major manufacturers typically have some, they either have the toxic levels of mercury, lead, or cadmium contained in them. So unless it goes through this process where a lot of those toxins and impurities have been eliminated, you're not going to get a very clean form of protein powder. So in general, we recommend that you don't use a protein powder. We're recommending the green smoothie because it has gone through a pretty scrutinized process to make sure a lot of those toxins and impurities are removed. So what you would do is you would actually use those for your AM and PM snacks. Okay? If you're going to do that, I would recommend you take the branched chain amino acids with it to get all of your essential amino acids. Essential, semi-essential, and then even some of your non-essential amino acids.
So the protein powder, the RBL.
The RBL.
That's a good one to
Yes.
use that?
Yeah, you can use that. You can use that as one of your meals, one of your snack options. Any other questions? So either grilling or baking, for the most part. Very good question. That's my mother, by the way. She's always been health conscientious, and that she's one of the reasons I got into the fitness industry. So thank you, Mother. Any other questions? Okay. I know some of you probably want to talk to Karina or myself personally. We'll be available to answer questions. I want to give Charles just a couple minutes to talk about his store. Remember, there's a $210 gift card to the winner, the person that has the most weight and fat loss. Charles has also added a $100 gift card, so it's a total of $310 to the person that loses the most body fat.
Yeah.
Yep.
How y'all doing this afternoon? I want to thank you for coming over here. By the way, I normally don't foreign up for people, but I love Michael, and I love what he's doing and his intent. So that being said, everybody that goes, we have 3 different discount levels at our store. You start at the maximum discounts, not the bottom. You do have to mention PG Fit, and all the supplements that we're suggesting to you were handpicked by Michael and Karina. And our probiotics, I brought a little ice pack. Just to understand, probiotics are friendly bacteria. You find it in the culture yogurts. There's 60 billion with a B in it. A lot of times when you go to these places, you see probiotics on the shelf. Well, think about this for a second. You're buying dead bacteria. What is that doing for you? Ain't doing a whole lot for you. So we get a cold pack, and as soon as we get it from the manufacturer, so you gain a lot of bacteria. Now, one of my main brands that we carry is called Blue Bonnet. They're locally here in Sugar Land. They've been around for 25 years. And I would say about 90% of their products is kosher. And just like what Mike was mentioning about FDA, well, FDA doesn't really control a lot of the supplement industry. So legally, they could misrepresent you by 50% what's in the bottle legally. But Blue Bonnet, 90% is kosher. So kosher is sacrilegious. So that means what they represent is in the bottle, or else they can't call it kosher. And it takes it to another level. They put it in a glass container because they don't want it. Contamination of seepage of plastic, I think, is an overkill, but I respect the philosophy. Another thing about it, when you turn around and you say it's kosher, if it has garlic or ginger, whatever ingredient is in that bottle, they have to disclose to you if you want to know where the garlic came from, where the ginger come from. So it takes it to a different level. The protein drinks that we carry from Nature's Plus, that's another company. They've been around 35 years. Their products are not all kosher, but they have a third-party FDA independent laboratory actually certifies what they represent in the bottle. It's in the bottle. In most cases, they exceed what they represent. One of the things that Michael was mentioning about flaxseed, we carry it in the soft gel, we carry it in the powder form. So we have different things. Psyllium husk, he says, put it in the bottle. Psyllium husk is a little, in my personal opinion, and it's just an opinion, it works a little bit better than conventional fiber because psyllium husk, what it does is it expands. So it does two things. It cleanses you out a little bit, it keeps you regular, and it also makes you the full feel. So when you do eat, you don't feel as hungry because it's full. Now, I kind of trick a little bit when I take psyllium husk. I don't actually get 10, 12 ounces of water and put it in there because then I have to drink more of the stuff. What I do, I normally drink 2, 3 ounces of water. I throw a spoonful on top. I mix it. Most of it is going to float. I shoot it down. It doesn't have no flavor, by the way. Then I follow it with 12 ounces of water. Now, it's extremely important to drink water because water activates. If you don't drink water, it becomes solid. It's going to constipate you. So you got to drink water to activate. That's the way it works. Even fiber itself, you got to drink fluids. And one of the things, our multivitamins, they're also kosher. They're all natural. There's no synthetic in it or anything else. And probiotics, we talked about it. And the 5-HTPs, just like Michael mentioned, is really L-tryptophan with another molecule. It's an amino acid. Your body produces it. It's extremely important because it produces, is the last stage of serotonin. And that's what helps you lose weight. It's also good for antidepressant and also it makes you feel very happy. Now, you gotta be somewhat alert. If you take too much, it's gonna make you a little sleepy. That means that, hey, your doses maybe is too high, but I'll let Michael conduct that.
Yes. Sorry, go ahead.
Is that true?
Yeah, so start with 100 milligrams.
Okay.
Either 50 or 100. The ones that we sell over at Smart Drinks, they're 100 milligrams.
That's correct.
Just one in the morning.
Yeah. We also, the L-glutamine is the most abundant amino acid in your body. It's also called brain fuel, and it helps you with your muscle repairs. And BCA, branched chain amino acids, a lot of times people say, hey, how do I get more muscle? Well, branched chain amino acids is essential because the more muscles you have, the less body fat you have. So that's a good way to be focusing and trying to maintain weight with branched chain amino acids. And once again, natural source. We have them in convenient package. We have them in a 1 pound and a 2 pounds. You get discounts. You pay no sales tax. And anything you buy at our location, we have 3 locations. Anything that you buy, you don't like it, bring it back. You're not going to get harassed. We're going to say, hey, you didn't like it, bring it back because we're all wired different. Sometimes it may not sit right. I see several of my customers here, but at the same token, if you have an accident with a blue bonded bottle, it's made out of glass. It's going to slip and fall. If it does, it's going to break. Don't feel bad. Just pick up the glass. Don't cut yourself. Bring me the pills. I'll give you another bottle. We'll defect it out. And don't worry about me because I'm going to get credit. We do a lot of purchases from them. I just want to thank you for coming here. And if there's something I can do, my staff are very polite because I impounded them customer service. And when I hire my employees, I tell them there's 3 things you can't do. You can't lie, you can't cheat, and you can't steal. So if you have a customer, they ask you a question, if you don't know, I encourage them to say, hey, I don't know, let's figure it out. So you're never going to get wrong information. And I just want to thank you and for the opportunity to be able to do business with you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Charles. For those of you that I have not had the opportunity to meet yet, my name is Karina Vanya, and I'm Michael Roeming's partner here at PG Fit, and we are so thankful that you all made it out today. I know that we're ready to go, so I just wanted to really quick go over a few things. Those of you that have known me for years being a trainer, I've sent people to Smart Drinks and Nutrition for a long time because I really do trust them, that you don't have to go there, but I've been doing this for a minute, and that's where I send all of my clients because they do a great job. So you're welcome to shop around, but they have the best deals, and they take care of all of my clients, all of our clients. So So we really do recommend that you stop on by. I wanted to, for those of you that didn't get to weigh in beforehand, we're going to go ahead and do that now. If you need to go for the rest of this week, you can come in and see me during the day and weigh in. Just pop in, we'll take your weight, and you can be on your way. We are going to be sending information on a home study course covering all this information that we went over today. So if you missed something or it was a little hard to hear, you'll be able to catch it on that. And we do want to invite all of you to come out and try any of our courses, our small group training that we do, our metabolic training. We're going to offer everyone that signed up for this 21-day detox a 2-week free trial to come and join us and work out. So you can not only be detoxing your body, you can be getting into a workout routine as well. And then last but not least, I wanted to mention our Revolution Cypress. I'm sorry. Revolution Cypress. We're going to be sending all of you information on that as well. It's going to start on March the 26th. I don't want to say the wrong thing. 26th?
29th.
29th. Okay, I said the wrong thing. It's going to start March 29th. All of the proceeds from the Revolution Cypress.
It's $49.
It's $49, and all of the proceeds go to charity. We're basically challenging Cypress to lose 1,000 pounds. It's a partnership with St. John Lutheran Church, and so
We're going to be conducting the revolutions over there.
we'll be doing the revolutions over there. For those of you that made it out this morning, we're going to be continuing that. So we're going to send more information on all of that to everyone. That make sure that you signed in. We'll take your weights across the hall, and thank you so very much for coming out and giving us some of your time on a Saturday. We really
Thank you.
appreciate it. Huh?
Okay.
Okay, thanks.